Hello there, my YouTube peeps. It is 21 questions tag time. Thank you, RVGranny, for tagging me on this. I've been wanting to do it for a while, but let's see if I can read the questions without my glasses on. Oh, I can. But things have been busy, and I've got a few minutes. I'm going to sit down here and do this. So let's just do it. When was I born? Well, I was born on November 8th. And even though I'm not a witch, that's a terribly witchy day to be born, I think. My favorite color? Dusty lavender. Love this. Love that color. I'm not a huge fan of purple, just straight purple. I like my purples pinked down and grayed down. So dusty lavender. With like a mossy, sagey green as my follow-up color. My 3 favorite quotes. I had to think about this. Although I've read just tons and tons of things since I was little, because I read constantly, or used to, I'm not particularly well read in that I don't have a lot of, highbrow quotes to tell you from people like, Schopenhauer and Kennedy and Arnold Schwarzenegger, Albert Schweitzer. So I don't have much of that to share. Most of my quotes, I have no idea who they're attributed to, or they come from movies. So, in no particular order, my 3 favorite quotes are, "Give me liberty or give me death." I know one of those Revolutionary War guys said that. "Knowledge is power." I don't know who said that, but it's so true. And there have always been stargadders at Cold Comfort Farm, which came from Cold Comfort Farm, the movie, as well as the book. Stella Gibbons wrote that book as a send-up of the trashy pulp fiction novel romances that were being written in Great Britain in the 1920s and 30s. So she wrote this very tongue-in-cheek, sarcastic little book that has, to this day, has a huge cult following. Love that book. Love that movie. Am I addicted to YouTube? Yes, I am. But I've put myself in sort of a voluntary treatment where I can remain, there we go, where I can remain using YouTube without dying of an overdose. So I'm kind of in this experimental, sort of program. My 3 favorite shows. Well, I love the Brady Bunch. That's one of my favorite shows ever. I loved Mad Men, although I didn't even discover it until it was like 3 or 4 years into its run. So I went out and I bought every episode because I rewatched them over and over again. I absolutely adore that sort of kitschy romantic melodrama humor. I think is great. And then the other show that I adore is Better Call Saul. I wasn't a huge fan of Breaking Bad, only because I found it kind of depressing, and there wasn't enough funny, at least my sort of funny, that to keep it from being cringeworthy for me. But Better Call Saul, at least the first 2 seasons of it, and I haven't seen this season, great show, incredibly well written, love it. Well acted, directed, just everything about it's really stellar. Love Better Call Saul. But I don't have a TV, and I don't have like Hulu or any of that stuff hooked up to anything other than my phone, so I don't find myself watching TV shows. Oh, I've got a 4th show, and it's a YouTube show, and it's called Gayle, Gayle, and it's on a channel called Chris Fleming. Chris Fleming is a stand-up comedian, absolutely hilarious, and he's been doing the show called Gayle, where his alter ego Gayle, who is I think she's a Massachusetts housewife, something like that. It's about her incredibly dingy life, and it's just great. The guy's so funny, and the funniest part about Gayle is the the dialogue. Well, they're more like little soliloquies because Gail delivers her dialogue rapid fire, and sometimes you have to go back and listen to it again to convince yourself you actually heard what you think you just heard. The guy is brilliant, just brilliant. I love him. I hope he comes to the West Coast. I know he's coming to Seattle, but if he comes into California anywhere, I think I'm going to get tickets. Just love him. The 3 qualities that I look for in a friend: kindness, loyalty, and humor. Right there. Probably in that order too. Do I like my name? Well, yeah, my first name's fine, Cheryl. There's a long story about how I was named Cheryl. I think I've told it in a previous video. But my last name is actually my ex-husband's last name. And I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it to Coyote. I think Cheryl Coyote is the perfect name for me. It just fits me. So I'm going to legally have that changed probably this upcoming year. Would I change my name? See the previous question. What is my dream? But it's funny how dreams change, you know, as you get older or move along in life. And there are times when you don't have any dreams at all. Because life is just grinding you down. I mean, your dream is for life to stop grinding you down. I'm past that, though. Kids are grown. Parents are elderly or no longer with us. I don't know if you'd call me retired or just unemployed. I'm not quite sure which. So I'm free to have new dreams. And I have a lot of them, but I'll tell you my real special dream. The one that I think about the most these days. My special dream is that sometime in the not too distant future, like within a couple of years, I will be able to trick out my Airstream, just glamp that thing up from one end to the other. If you don't know what glamp is, go look at Mary Jane's Farm and Magnolia Pearl. Go look at those 2 websites, Facebook pages, whatever. That'll tell you what glamping is. And I want to sew a fabulous wardrobe, very gypsy-like, gypsy hippie-like. Not so much boho because that's for young girls. I want to do something a little more historic looking. And grab my husband and a bunch of finished craft products and a bunch of craft supplies, and I want to hit the road. I want to go on a long crafting across the United States and back journey. I mean long, like 6 months. Get it all planned ahead of time so I know like all the major shows I'm going to go to, but kind of leave things open if there's like a midweek show or something and I happen to be passing by it, that we could stop there if we could, you know, crash the party at late notice, that kind of thing. And combined with this, I want to go back and retrace the steps of my previous road trip that I did with Abigail, and I want to revisit all of my beloved YouTube people, as well as go into the areas that I wasn't able to visit and see the people that I unfortunately had to pass by. That would be just super cool. I would love to do that. So that's my dream. Do I wear makeup? Only when I'm in drag. When I'm being real Cheryl, I don't wear makeup. If I could write a book, what would it be about? That's a real loaded question for me because I have written... I've published nonfiction stuff, which is boring. You don't need to know about it, games and crap like that. But I'm always writing a book. I'm either actually writing the book, or I am outlining the book, or I am writing out a synopsis of my plot lines. I've got many, many books in me. I've completed a novelette, which was like a 100,000 word story. But I've never completed a novel. And I have completed a couple of screenplays, though. Of course, none of that's published or read or used or anybody gives a shit about. But yeah, I love to write. Love to write. And they're about everything from, little royal princesses who are abandoned by their families and raised by gypsies and come to the United States in the 1880s, all the way through, old ladies who travel the United States and hiding from their families to, women who have lost everything, so they start a spa in the mountains. All kinds of different stuff. I've got all kinds of plot lines. So, yeah. Did I happen to tell you I love to write? I love to write. What would its title be? I don't have titles for any of this. You don't really title a book till after you're done. And sometimes, incidentally, you don't title the book. It gets titled by your publisher, strangely enough. What makes me angry? Probably the thing that makes me the most angry is when I witness someone who cannot protect themselves being victimized by somebody else, either mentally, physically, in any way. Which, of course, trickles down to kids being abused, animals being kicked around, blah, blah, blah. It really, my warrior spirit just rises up in me, and, the next thing I know, I've got blood on my clothes, and some poor person is lying on the ground saying, please stop, please make the fat chip stop kicking me, please, please. So I don't know, I see red when I see people being victimized. Not so much when it's like people who are more or less equally matched, who are going at it. That doesn't bother me. It's the people who are being picked on and victimized for no reason. It just sends me into a rage. What makes me happy? I think, my home makes me happy. My crazy little funky little home makes me happy. Feeling secure makes me really happy. And here lately I haven't been feeling very secure. I mean secure in my world, like I can rise to the challenge of feeding myself and, putting gas in my car and paying my taxes and all that. I've felt, like so many of us, I've really felt the unsteadiness of my financial foundation as it shifts a little bit underneath me. And I worry that those grumblings might turn into a real problem in the not too distant future, and that I won't be able to respond to it. So that's like the opposite of what makes me happy, because the happy part is feeling like, yeah, okay, I'm cool. I can make it till death and, be relatively okay. That makes me happy. Who am I a fan of on YouTube? Well, obviously everybody I've ever subscribed to, I'm a fan of in one way or another. So I'm just going to talk about big YouTubers, people who aren't subscribed to me. I'll tell you about those people that I'm a fan of. First person I was a fan of was Jenna Marbles, and I'm still a fan of her. I love her. Graveyard Girl, still a fan of her. Love her. I have a hard time being a fan of beauty gurus because beauty gurus I'm not interested in beauty per se, so, their subject matter doesn't capture me. Although I will say, of the beauty gurus, I love Wayne Goss, and the reason is because of who Wayne Goss seems to be as a human being. Such a classy guy, so sweet and businesslike and kind of tender, approachable. Just, he seems to be a really, really nice man, and I would love to meet him. So yeah, I think it about stops there. There's tons of other biggies that I like, but in terms of being a real fan, those are the three. My favorite snacks. Cashews, apples, and beef jerky are my favorite snacks. I'm not am not eating beef jerky right now, in part because it bothers my teeth, but also it's got more salt in it than I can really afford in a full day's worth of salt. I eat a lot of salt. I'm not worried about salt. But if I start eating stuff like beef jerky, then I can really start feeling myself retaining water. Cashews I do eat. I eat them very carefully. Cashews are sort of like, well, they're not exactly like crack. They're more like, a good doobie. You kind of want it, but you can leave it alone for a while. But boy, you're glad to know it's there. If I were a doobie smoker still, which I'm not. I'm speaking in retrospect. So yeah, I do like my cashews. Apples, just because they're good for me and they're readily available, they're inexpensive. Now, let's talk about my 3 favorite snacks that I'm not eating that I used to eat. Potato chips, love them. Any kind of potato chips at all. Or chips of any kind, really. Corn chips, any kind of chips. Love me some chips. The other thing I love are those, they usually come 6 to a box. They're donuts that you buy at the grocery store. And they're called old-fashioned donuts. They're kind of crusty on top, all like deep fried. They're kind of cakey, and they're covered in this glaze of melted powdered sugar. I'm going to say loved in the past tense. Loved those. And then ice cream. So yeah, when it comes to snacks, I was pretty hardcore, so I had to leave those now. Maybe forever, but definitely for now. My favorite foods. Well, probably my absolute favorite food is spaghetti, or like any kind of pasta, penne pasta, manicotti spaghetti, that in a really good tomatoey, kind of a sweet tomatoey red sauce with a lot of ground beef and or sausage or meatballs or whatever. Just a real sweetish red sauce, preferably homemade with all fresh tomatoes and fresh bell peppers and fresh garlic and all of that. I could eat an entire pot of that. I could eat 12 servings of that in one evening without batting an eye. Needless to say, spaghetti is one of the things that I try not to keep in the house right now, because I just can't say no. I also love a big-ass hamburger with, all the trimmings and a ton of mayonnaise, real thick, hand-formed on. I don't like hamburger buns. I like it to be on white bread, the freshest, like rainbow bread, sliced cheap-ass white bread you can buy. The kind of white bread that's so fresh that when you bite into it, and you pull your teeth away and look at it, the bread forms these little seams where it's like sealed itself when your teeth bit into it. That's how I like my hamburgers. And then my next favorite food, it's a toss-up between pizza or a big old mess of Chinese food. And I think I'm going to go with the big old mess of Chinese food. Just, slap that shit on the table family style, and I'll just start tipping it into my plate. Love Chinese food. Another thing I'm not eating right now. My favorite drinks. I used to love sodas, but I really don't like them that much anymore. I love me some sweet tea. I'm not drinking that right now. I never liked coffee, but here lately I'm loving it because my husband makes me coffee every morning. And he, like I've talked about before, and he makes his special coffee blends, and he always asks me, "How do you want the coffee today?" And I get to tell him if I want, chocolate in it, and or cinnamon, or if I want it straight, whatever. So I like coffee now. I love just plain old ice water. So it would be sweet tea, coffee, and ice water. Now, if we're talking, those are soft drink beverages. Let's talk about drinks like alcoholic drinks. My favorites. I love brandy separators. I love gin and tonics, of course, and champagne. Those are my favorites. 10 random facts about me. Random facts are supposed to be random, just whatever pops into your mind. So let's see if I can come up with 10 that just pop into my mind. Okay. I love old-fashioned looking clothes. I love actually old clothes. I wish I had a bunch of clothes from the 1880s through the 1940s and I could just mix and match all that shit together. I swim fully clothed in my leggings and t-shirt. That's 2. I sleep fully clothed in my leggings and t-shirt. I usually just take my, my t-shirty bra off and hit the bed. I'm thinking of random facts about myself, honey. My dad used to try to kill me routinely by putting me in dangerous situations. Like one time, we were floating down the Kings River, which is a big river that people used to still do, probably raft and tube down. My father thought it would be funny for me to go down a set of rapids in nothing but a life jacket. I wasn't actually in the boat. I was kind of trail along behind it. I mean, there's sinkholes, there's rocks. I was probably 11 when this happened. And my dad thought it was funny. Well, I lost sight of the boat, and here I am floating down the center of this river, and God only knows where my family was. So I managed to somehow make it to the side and to the shore. And some people found me, and then they managed to find my parents. And it just didn't even occur to my dad that, he just put me in grave danger. He was always doing that shit. So that's 4 or 5. I'm going to call that 4. So let's go to 5. Okay. Took me a long, long time to learn to read. I was in that 3rd grade before I could read. But once I started to read, then you couldn't make me stop. I read constantly. And I did up until just a few years ago. A few years ago, I kind of fell off the reading all the time thing, and I don't know why. I really miss it. I sort of mourn reading. That's 5. So 6. I like to paint, although I don't think I've ever showed you guys my paintings. I love to paint. I love to crochet. I love to knit. All of that. I like to do crafts, both basically unskilled and basically skilled, like stained glass. I love to do mosaic, all that stuff. I should have been an art teacher, probably. 7-ish. I used to play in a band, but I think you guys know that already. I played drums and bass. Mostly bass, but sometimes drums, depending on, the situation. I went to Catholic school.
How about
loved it.
fencing you in?
But that's not a random fact, is it really? Oh, well, this isn't a random... Well, this is sort of a random fact. Another thing my dad liked to do, because I was an escape artist as a little kid, I would go outside, at the break of dawn, generally naked or just wearing the top to my pajamas or some stupid outfit like that. And I would go visit all the neighbors at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And, somebody would have to bring this naked kid home. Here, I found your kid again. Keep her off my lawn. So my dad got the bright idea that the best way to keep me in was to put barbed wire along the hedges that formed part of the fencing between our house and the neighbor's house. So he ran these strings of barbed wire because they knew where I was getting out. I was getting out under those hedges. So he runs all these strings of barbed wire. Pretty soon, knock, knock, knock. Yeah, here's your kid. Keep her, out of my basement. Keep her out of my pool. Okay. So my parents take me out in the backyard. They're like, okay, Cheryl, show us where you're getting out. So I was happy to oblige them. I went over to the barbed wire fence area, and I hunkered down, and I lifted a piece of barbed wire up, and I put it over a branch, and I picked another piece down and I put it under a rock or something, so it formed this little hole, and then I backed out through this little hole. Didn't even get a scratch. So I don't remember what my parents ended up doing to keep me in after that, but that was, yeah. I single-handedly engineered the hostile takeover of a company, which eventually caused me to have to fire my own boss. And then I shut the company down and liquidated it and sold all my crap to China. I say it wasn't mine, it was the corporation's crap. After having been told by a local liquidator that, oh, this stuff isn't worth anything, you should take that and go put it out on the street, that's garbage, and I'll give you, oh, I don't know, let's say 10 grand for the rest of what you have. Well, gosh, thanks, sir, I'll call you back. Got on eBay, made some phone calls, and I ended up selling that same stuff for, I don't know, $850,000, something like that. So I was very proud of myself. I kept a lot of money for the investors when I finally wrote the last checks. So, yeah. I don't know if that's something that I should be proud of, really. I mean, it was like a last-ditch effort, but I'm proud that I did a good job and that I stewarded everybody's money really, really well. I'm proud of that. I don't know where I'm at now. That's about all the random things I can think of to tell you. So let's see where we're at now. 3 things I like to do. I like to watch YouTube videos. I love to watch you guys. I'm getting to the point where I like the idea of traveling again. Never liked the idea of leaving home, but I had so much fun this past summer that I'm liking the idea of packing up and doing it again. And I like to make silly little crap and send it to my YouTube people. Those are 3 things I like to do. So that concludes the 21 questions tag. Thanks again, RVGranny, for tagging me. And I guess I can't put off going to town any longer. The day is getting away from me. I'll see you guys later. Bye.